Hey, good afternoon. It's rainy here in Oregon today, and it's a little later than I usually get on here and chat with y'all. Y'all, why do I say y'all? I'm not from the South. Anyway, what a goofball. Anyway, so today we're going to start on 15 Monroe Street. We moved there after my father's business in East Rutherford failed, the pizza place, and my father was doing new things, and we moved into a bigger place because behind living behind the restaurant that we were no longer running made no sense, so we moved into 15 Monroe Street. It is a six apartment building. There's on each floor there was two apartments, and there was three floors. It was sort of like a townhouse would be shaped. Everything was stacked on top. There was a big backyard, and in the front, there was no front yard. It was paved over, but it was a good play area. And there were steps. So, guess what? There was a stoop. Across the street from us was a huge factory, a chemical factory. Don't quote me, but I think I remember being Hayden Chemical. And the street was double wide, so it didn't feel like the factory was right on top of us. It was like almost boulevard wide, which it's like a double street. And running right down the middle of Monroe Street, coming across the bridge, the train trestle, was the train tracks. And from time to time, maybe one or two times a day, there'd be a train really slow moving that would come across the trestle and go into like the guarded gates in the factory and kind of veer off like on the sideway. Now, this wasn't a problem to me. I don't know. I guess nowadays, the air quality and all this and that, it would be a problem. And to mention that the factory is now grazed, it's no longer there, and probably no records of it either. Old lawsuits and whatever. But the factory's gone. Back then, the train was so slow that some of the rowdy kids in the neighborhood would jump on the train and jump off before it got to the entrance into the factory. So that was like a little dare thing. No, I never did it. I know I was wild, but I didn't do that. So the story is that one day I was had my bicycle out front, and it was a secondhand Schwinn bicycle that my mom had got for me. Now, this bicycle later becomes an issue because I thought I could get a new bike. Well, my mom didn't want to ask for hand me downs, and that's all she could afford. And it's a beautiful bike. Okay, do not get me wrong. It's a beautiful bike, but it's not the one I wanted. So, bratty Diane, I always kind of resented the bike a little. Sorry about that, Mom. I left it on the front porch, leaning against the stoop, and I think I went in the backyard. I wasn't too far away. Little kid, I don't know, maybe 12, 13, 14 in that range, jumps off the train. He had come over through the on the trestle side and came over onto the Garfield side from Passaic, jumps off, grabs my bike. Now, my cousin Tommy, my Aunt Mare, and my Uncle Tommy were living in the first floor apartment in the front. It was only temporary because they were getting ready to move to Florida. But he saw the kid do this. Now, this is kind of why I think Tommy always was my hero after that. Always was my hero. I would say he was my favorite cousin, but I tell all my cousins they're my favorite cousin. But this really made him shine. Now, I'm like, I hear this racket, and Tommy's running down their street. I guess he looked out the window, saw the kid with I'm not sure exactly how he figured it out. He's running down the street. Now, the train's going 5 miles an hour, but it's still moving. The kid had jumped back on the train. I don't know where he thought he was going because it was going into the factory. Maybe he didn't know that. And my cousin jumps on the train, grabs my bike, and pushes the kid out of the way. I don't know what happened to the kid, and nothing ever came of it. There was no police report or anything else. But my cousin Tommy, he saved my bicycle. A bicycle I really didn't want, but it was the only bike I had, and it became this big deal. And then I followed Tommy everywhere. I was like, I think he was just a year and a half older than me. I don't know. But he became my hero. I just hung on his heels, and have that one relationship with one of your supposedly favorite cousins. Well, Tommy was that cousin. I just loved the kid. And then when they moved to Florida, it was really sad. It was like, oh, my hero is gone. And he is older, so he's a little bit of an instigator. Actually, we are a lot alike as far as instigation and clown around and, bugging our parents and doing all that. So this one's for you, Tommy. I love you. I know you're up in heaven. You left us early, but I miss you, and thanks for saving my bike that day. I don't know what ever happened. Oh, the story behind the train is that obviously it was delivering things to Hayden Chemical. Well, when it would go back, it would come out and it would go back because the factory was the dead end. It would go back across the train trestle. Now, some of the boys in the neighborhood did try to walk across the train trestle, and they were always warned, don't go over all the way because there's a bum's jungle there. This was a terminology back then. You called a bum somebody that was, I guess they were homeless, but they were mostly men. I don't think I ever saw a woman bum, quote unquote bum, but they were guys that would jump on their trains and travel all over the country, and you know that whole mystique around the traveling on the trains back in the day. And the train cars were open, and I guess they did. I don't really know where the train went after, but there was a lot of factories in Passaic on that other side. So I was scared to death to go on the train trestle. So, and matter of fact, so was Tommy. I don't think he ever tried to go over to Bum's Jungle. So I really don't know what happened to that kid that tried to steal my bike. I don't know. There was a big hubbub, in the neighborhood, and we lost track of whatever happened. And never saw the kid again. And I had my bike for a really long time. Anyway, that's the beginning of 15 Monroe Street. Those are like my first impressions. The factory across the street. The street itself had all residential houses on this side, and there might have been a house or two that was turned into an apartment building, like with two apartments. But we were the only apartment building there. And down the street, as the street widened again, as it went down further, across the street, right on the river, there was a building called Jean's Rainbow Bar. More about that on the next video. Okay, that's it for this one. Goodbye and God bless.